Welcome to Crisis in Perception, where we examine the systems shaping our world.
So in this explainer, we're not actually trying to uncover any Masonic secrets. Instead, we're going to use Freemasonry as this incredible case study, a way to understand how any powerful institution uses ritual and controlled information to build a really lasting identity. And our guide through all this is Andreas Önnerfors's great little book, Freemasonry, A Very Short Introduction.
To really get to the heart of a structure like this, you have to start with its most famous or infamous feature, secrecy. I mean, why is it so compelling? The sociologist George Simmel had this amazing line. He called it one of the greatest accomplishments of humanity. Because when you think about it, withholding information creates this incredibly powerful social dynamic. It draws a very hard line between us and them, and it makes whatever knowledge is being guarded feel, well, incredibly valuable.
Okay, so with that idea of secrecy as a powerful tool in our minds, let's break down the actual system. We can think of its structure as a kind of machine, which we're going to call the system, a layered doorway.
At its core, you've got to understand, Freemasonry isn't just some social club. It's a highly structured system designed for both personal and collective growth. You can almost feel its origins in those old medieval craft guilds, right? Where crucial trade secrets were passed down through this really strict hierarchy of masters and apprentices. It uses that same model, ritual, progression, to turn abstract ideas into a shared, lived experience.
And really, the best way to picture this whole structure is through this one central metaphor. Just imagine a series of doors. To get through each one and see what's behind it, you first have to master the lessons of the room you're already in. This progression from an apprentice to a master and beyond, well, it's not just about learning something, it's about earning your place. And with every single step, it builds commitment and reinforces who the group is.
That layered doorway system, it sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? So what are the incentives? What is this pull of secrecy that convinces people to keep walking through those doors year after year, sometimes for centuries?
Well, the system runs on a really powerful set of psychological incentives. First up, you have the ritual of initiation. This creates a profound sense of belonging by drawing a clear line between you and the outside world. Then, secrecy kicks in, making all that shared knowledge feel way more valuable and exclusive. Next, there's symbol mastery, learning the group's stories and their meanings. This becomes a visible signal of your advancement and your commitment. And finally, and this is super clever, a certain amount of ambiguity in the teachings lets everyone find their own personal meaning, which keeps the group from fracturing and helps the whole organization adapt over time.
Now, this is a perfect example of what symbol mastery looks like in action. This is called a tracing board. It's a visual aid used in the rituals. But look, we don't need to get bogged down in the specific story here. The crucial part to understand is its function. When members take part in rituals using tools like this, they aren't just hearing a story, they are actively experiencing it. And that's the process right there. That's what transforms these abstract symbols into a deeply personal part of their identity. It's an incredibly powerful way to make the lesson stick. So, when you build a system on these kinds of powerful psychological incentives, you are absolutely going to get some very predictable outcomes. And that goes for people inside the group and for those of us on the outside looking in. This leads to the two-sided coin of mystique and mistrust.
And this just lays it out so clearly, doesn't it? Internally, all those shared rituals and secret knowledge build this intense loyalty and a deep sense of mystique. Members feel like they're part of something ancient, something really important. But that exact same secrecy, when you see it from the outside, it breeds suspicion. Those closed doors become a kind of blank canvas for the public to project its fears onto, and that leads directly to the conspiracy theories that have followed this group around for centuries.
So you have this deep internal loyalty on one side, and this intense external suspicion on the other, a dynamic that's been playing out for hundreds of years. So that raises the big question. What's the engine? How does a system like this persist for so long, even when it's constantly under attack? Well, its resilience is actually a feature of its design. For its members, it provides a clear path in what can be a very uncertain world. The progression through the degrees feels meaningful. It takes these abstract traditions and makes them part of a person's core identity. And here's the real irony. The very conspiracies that attack Freemasonry often end up reinforcing its mystique, keeping it in the public eye, and maybe even making it seem more powerful than it really is.
And this gets us to the crucial point. The real friction here isn't about the system itself, but how we interpret it. The crisis in perception arises when a symbolic boundary system like this one is seen only as a tool for some hidden power, instead of what it is structurally, a very effective framework for building community and shared meaning. And once you start to see this system not as some grand conspiracy, but as an effective organizational structure, you begin to recognize the blueprint, a wider pattern that shows up in many of the most respected institutions that we see every single day.
You know, Freemasonry isn't really an anomaly. It's just a highly refined example of a very common model. Think about it. Universities guide you through degrees to access specialized knowledge. The military uses ranks and rituals to build cohesion. Religious orders have vows and hierarchies. Even professional societies use certifications and special jargon to define who's in and who's out. All of a sudden, this secret society structure doesn't seem so secret after all, does it?
And that brings us to our final takeaway. The fact that Freemasonry has lasted for centuries isn't necessarily proof of some shadowy global control. It is, however, incredibly powerful evidence of a brilliant institutional design, one that is an expert at managing identity, ensuring its own survival, and fulfilling the deep human need for symbolic meaning.
Crisis in Perception examines how systems shape belief and how better tools help us see clearly.
This project is free and publicly accessible. If you'd like to support the time, tools, and research behind Crisis in Perception, you can become a supporter on Patreon.
For a shorter, visual overview of this topic, see the mini explainer linked in the description.
If you enjoy this kind of systems-level analysis, please like, subscribe, and comment with books or topics you'd like us to explore next.